Okay, hi everybody and welcome. So I'm Barclay Brown. I'm the INCOSE Director for the Americas, and this is your chapter leader training. This is being recorded at the International Symposium in, where are we? Las Vegas, right? That's right, Vegas, baby. So we're here. All right, so my first little segment here is just to welcome you and to overview kind of what we're going to do in the training here. So here's our agenda. I have a short section on what is INCOSE, what the admin functions are in the administrative office and the services that they provide for our chapters. Technical operations, Bill Miller will do that part. I'll talk more about chapters in detail, chapter officer roles and responsibilities. Don will talk about the Chapter Excellence Program, the chapter awards, and all the things associated with that. That's important for you to know as you administer your chapters and run your chapters and so forth. We'll talk about some resources and products and then some of the upcoming events in INCOSE and so forth. So this is meant to be foundational training. Some of you may be new officers and this is all brand new to you, right? Or some of you may be officers and you've been officers before and this will be more like an update, right? Okay. So first of all, your interest in chapter leadership is truly a brilliant move on your part. So I congratulate you and I thank you for your service to INCOSE and to the profession in being an officer in a chapter, right? So I know that's something you hopefully didn't step into lightly, right? Because you know it's a privilege and a responsibility, as we say, right? And it really is both. And I don't know which of those you'll enjoy more, but you know, there you go. It is both. So it's an opportunity for deeper involvement. It does allow you to contribute in a unique way because you literally are. The way I say it is, you are how your chapter will go for those coming years as a chapter president and the other officers, right? So to the extent that you're involved and you're doing things, your chapter will go well. If you don't, then it doesn't. It just kind of works that way, right? So hopefully you like that aspect of it. You know, you really have some influence on something directly. It involves you in promoting systems engineering in the community, both in your community of systems engineers, the larger engineering community, and I think it provides some invaluable experience. You know, again and again, our corporate advisory board companies tell us that one of the most valuable things that they see in INCOSE is the development that their people get by being chapter officers. You know, that they get some leadership experience and so forth. It's a great thing. All right. So what are the secrets? Just a couple of overall tips here as we start, and then we go into the more detailed training. You don't have to do this all yourself as an officer. Whether you're the president or another officer in a chapter, it isn't meant for you to do the entire job yourself. You can have a committee, you can have a team, you can involve other people, and that's very smart to do for a number of fairly obvious reasons, right? You're going to learn and grow in your own skills, organizing meeting and events. That's job one. That's what I always say is, for a chapter, job one is producing excellent programs and delivering excellent programs. If you don't do that, kind of nothing else matters in the chapter. If you do that, other things are not as important, right? If you're producing excellent programs and offering them to the constituents, to your members and so on, that's job one. You'll also have a good experience in self-management and time management, right? There is some work to do as a chapter officer. You probably also have a day job. You might also have a family. Maybe you have a social life. Maybe you have a hobby or a sport. Well, at least you do now. We'll see when you start your term, right? If that, anyway. But that's a game, right, is juggling all that so that you can have a full life as we like to. Part of the reason for this training, what spawned this, is we found a lot of chapter officers didn't necessarily know about the wealth of resources that you have in INCOSE for doing your job, right? Guidelines and expertise and people and networks and organization and all that. A lot of chapter officers came into the office and they said, well, all they could see was the chapter. And maybe if they didn't go to other INCOSE functions. So this is kind of to acquaint you with the broad spectrum of INCOSE that you may not see directly from your chapter, right? So that's a major purpose, and to leverage those kind of resources. So again, here's what we'll cover in bullet form. And so next we have David Long. So Dave, come on up here. We'll just hand this over to you live, and you can take over with the overview of INCOSE.
Very good. I will do the overview of INCOSE, and then actually admin functions are yours, not mine. So.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Very good. That's good. There's that.
Gotcha. All right, so for those who don't know me, Dave Long, INCOSE president, and actually a former chapter president of the WMA chapter, so I consider myself a chapter person through and through. So what I like to talk about first isn't who INCOSE is. It's actually why we exist. It's actually the more compelling reason to talk about why you want to be engaged with INCOSE. You know this, but your members need to know it. Fundamentally, we believe that the systems perspective is essential to developing solutions for problems with any meaningful degree of complexity. Okay? We believe the interesting things are actually in the gaps, oftentimes between disciplines, between technologies, between components. That's what systems is all about. And fundamentally, we believe that the challenges that we're facing today and tomorrow are systems challenges. Without the systems perspective, we are going to face tremendous unintended consequences. and only with the systems perspective can we address these efficiently and effectively. That's fundamentally why this organization exists. That's why we choose to affiliate with it. So what do we do with it? How does that impact us? Well, we are connectors. INCOSE is here to connect practitioners in a global sense, across boundaries, across domains, across geographic national boundaries. So we are connectors. We create, advance, and broker information on systems approaches. It doesn't all come from us. Certainly some of it comes out of tech ops, some of it comes out of chapters. We'll talk about that later. But we also broker to address the complex challenges across the broader community. And we champion the systems perspective. That's who we are, that's what we're all about. If we don't champion it, no one will. So, who is INCOSE? We've got 10,016 members. 58 chapters. 58 national countries, 67 chapters, 74 corporate advisory board members, 21 academic council members, and 47 technical working groups. At a snapshot in time, this is who INCOSE is. So, let's pull a little level deeper. INCOSE is not for profit. We are effectively a technical body for systems engineering dedicated solely to systems engineering. As I said, we have over 10,000 members now. We were founded in 1990. We are approaching our 25th anniversary. We were originally founded in U.S. in Mil-Aero, Aerospace and Defense. We like to think we're much bigger than that now. We are in aerospace and defense, transportation, health, civil, energy, beyond. Okay? And our mission statement, if you want it concisely, is to share, promote, and advance the best of systems engineering. And why do we do that? For the benefit of humanity and the planet. And Bill Miller will put a test on that later, right, Bill? All right. So that's who we are. That's why we exist. What are we trying to do? What are our fundamental goals on advancing the profession? Well, we have these 5, and these 5 have stood the test of time. To provide that focal point for the dissemination of systems engineering knowledge. Again, we create some, we broker some. To promote international collaboration in systems engineering, the practice of it, the education on it, and the research of it to move it forward. To assure the establishment of competitive, scalable professional standards in the practice of systems engineering. How do we know we're doing it well, and how do we know that we can do it for systems and challenges of all scales? To improve our professional status. If we are not respected as a profession, then the advice that we bring, the experience that we bring will not be trusted. We have no impact. INCOSE needs to be our voice. And in being that voice, one of the things that we need to do is encourage governmental and industrial support for research and education programs to move us forward. Those goals, as I said, have stood the test of time for INCOSE. You also choose to affiliate with a body because of what they value. This material was developed last year by INCOSE. Certainly we value systems thinking, pioneering, and innovation. We don't want to stand still. We need to move forward. Systems engineering isn't fully mature, nor is INCOSE as an organization. Learning and development. It is a lifelong learning profession, and that's what we back. Respect, diversity, and collaboration. If we are going to connect across that global scope, we can only do so by respecting those ideas, collaborating, and embracing diversity. It's all about individuals. We may serve as a body, we may have a voice, but it's all the individuals, and they do it through volunteerism. INCOSE has a very lean professional staff. It's counted in probably less than 10 total. Everything that we do comes from the good work of volunteers like you as chapter leaders. Now this is brand new. This was just approved here in Las Vegas by the Board of Directors, and it is our 5-year objectives. These 7 points are the underpinning for our new long-range plan. That will be published later this year. Some of them are quite audacious. INCOSE must grow. To have the impact that we want, we are seeking to double our membership in the next 5 years. But not only double, in the process, embrace healthcare, mobility, and energy business sectors. Let's be a unifying voice. We're not going to do it alone. INCOSE cannot have the full impact without alliances. And so we need to be much better at that, picking partners, having strong alliances to amplify our activities in the pursuit of our mission. Education is critical. We need to advance the next generation. And in doing so, over the next 5 years, we want our curricular recommendations to be widely adopted, but the last part is key. It's raising the quality of engineering education, not just systems engineering. We are seeking to inject the systems perspective into the education of all graduating engineers, knowing that they will work with systems engineers through the course of their professional life. Products, certainly as a technical organization, we must create and we must broker knowledge. Products are a key way to do it. It needs to be impactful. In other words, INCOSE has to become the go-to place for systems engineering knowledge. Hopefully we are that today. We definitely want to be that 5 years from now. And forums are far more than events. There are any number of ways to connect. INCOSE needs to, in partnership with others, be hosting and delivering the most impactful forums on systems engineering. Competency, well, we need to raise systems engineering competency across the supply chains for mil-aero, for healthcare, for energy, all these sectors. And lastly, transformation. The field of systems engineering right now is undergoing the transformation from a traditional document-centric approach to a model-centric or a model-based approach. INCOSE must be a driving force in that effort. So, that's who we are, that's where we're going, so why do you care? The classic, what's in it for me? Why would somebody want to choose to affiliate with INCOSE? What can they get tangibly out of it? Well, the number one benefit I always say is the network that we build. We currently have 10,000 committed professionals around the globe, working in all sorts of domains. Those are open practitioners in many cases. These people like to talk about what they do. They're a great source of systems engineering expertise. There's a great wealth of engineering presentation material out there. Chapter presentations recorded as webinars, other events. So quality presentations on systems engineering topics of interest, the opportunity to attend symposia like this one in Las Vegas, et cetera, et cetera. The opportunity to advance our own career. Oftentimes, you can get caught in an organization, you're in a specific track. Well, you want a new experience, come to INCOSE, volunteer, as Barclay said. I'll tell you what, I got involved with INCOSE in 1992. I became involved with the Washington Metro chapter in 1997, first as a tutorial chair. I will tell you here in 2014, at least half of who I consider myself to be comes from the INCOSE experience, specifically the volunteer leadership experience and the ability to interact with so many great mentors through those last 15 years. We certainly actually receive tangible things, such as Insight, our quarterly publication, a little more of a newsletter piece, but with practitioner advice. Our technical journals, Systems Engineering, the academic journal of INCOSE. We have the ability to collaborate online through INCOSE Connect. We collaborate with working groups on working products. We can download all those products. We can download symposium proceedings, all that. All that said, my bottom line is, if all you want is the products of INCOSE, join for a year, download them, come back 5 years from now, download them again. The real value of INCOSE or any other technical professional society is the ability to make those connections, okay, the ability to network. All right, so what's that really look like in practice? As I said, we have products. Now, some of them are the tangible products that we're used to. The Systems Engineering Handbook is probably our seminal product in INCOSE. It's aligned with 15288. Some of them are produced by chapters, the so-called Z guides from the UK chapter, which are downloadable from their site. You know, what is systems architecture? Some of them are lighter weight products. There's a great guide to writing requirements that's available to all members. And then Bookcase is an open body of knowledge effort that INCOSE developed along with CERC, the Systems Engineering Research Center, and IEEE Computer Society. So products, tangible things. Oops. As noted, publications, the SE Journal, the Journal of Enterprise Transformation, and Insight. Events around the world. There's the International Workshop, our working event every year in January, the International Symposium, the traditional conference every summer, every July or June, July. Regional conferences, sector conferences, EMEASEC in the European region, APCOSEC, the Asia Pacific Conference, and then countless other events at national and regional levels. So wherever you're looking, we have an INCOSE event for you. And then initiatives. We'll talk a little bit about these. INCOSE invests a great deal in standards. We play a key role. We are not a publishing standards group, but we help harmonize. We collaborate on a lot of efforts such as 15288. A World in Motion, SE Vision 2025, published here at this workshop to say what is the state of the systems engineering practice 11 years from now, to set out an opportunity to collaborate with others to make that a reality. Model-based systems engineering has now been an initiative for about 6 or 7 years, and the certification program itself to certify our competency and define what is a good systems engineer. How do you know if you have a good one? This is what INCOSE is in a tangible form, above and beyond the people. So, a very quick overview of the components. If you looked at INCOSE from a systems perspective, what would you see? How would it be built? Well, in the simplest form, we've got chapters and we have technical operations. Chapters are the geographic bodies where people come together in a local, regional sense, sometimes in a national sense. And technical operations is the cross-cutting area of interest way that we organize. We organize around requirements, around architecture, around automotive, around defense. And so these two together form the two fundamental ways of looking at INCOSE. Overseeing it all is a leadership body, the board of directors, and underpinning that is our very lean central office staff that runs the administrative functions, helps answer questions for chapter leaders, maintains membership records, and all that. Of course, it's not that simple. We all like to peel the onion in layers, get the simple picture first, and then expand it. What's the next level down? Well, chapters are the primary way that we connect with new members. We can think global, but we act local. People generally don't show up at the international level for the first time. They discover INCOSE LA, INCOSE in the German chapter, whatever. Okay? That local support is oftentimes the main touch point for a chapter member, for an INCOSE member. That's how they feel at home, how they feel they get value. And so chapters are a wonderful conduit of information both ways. The conduit to the central organization of what's important, what are our members seeking, what challenges are they facing, and the transmittal to members. What's just come out of Tech Ops that's valuable? What just happened? Where's INCOSE heading over these 5 years? What are we trying to do? And then technical operations, Bill Miller will speak in depth about this later. But technical operations is that cross-cutting body. It draws members from all over the world. Sometimes you'll have a working group focused in a geographical area. The Midwest of the U.S., for example, has a biomedical working group. But there's also an international biomedical and healthcare working group. Okay? The technical operations piece as our technical body is where we're generating new knowledge, where we're brokering knowledge, where we're really advancing the state of the practice. Okay? Those two are symbiotic. You can't have one thrive without the other. So, oversight and coordination, how do we come together? Well, a little bit of history. I said INCOSE is nearing its 25th anniversary. We had 35 people come together, identify a need. INCOSE, actually we trace our roots to that 1990, but we didn't incorporate until 1992. With that history founded, there is a board of directors that sets the fundamental agenda for INCOSE, but remember, INCOSE is really a bottom-up volunteer organization. Yes, we can set a direction, but ultimately we are fueled by the volunteer energy and where we choose to go. So the board of directors tries to reflect that energy while setting a vector. We have the administrative office to support us. We have that technical operations group, currently 47 working groups. Here's where chapters come in. We're organized around sectors to bring some more geographic cohesion to us and to reflect the fact that the needs in the Americas sector is a little different than the needs in the EMEA sector. Europe, Middle East, and Africa is a little different from Asia Pacific. So we try to reflect that. There are administrative committees, people, for example, who run events. They handle communications. They handle the administrative details of the organization. And something that we didn't talk about in depth is the corporate advisory board. That's the voice of the corporate customer. Where do we think things are important? What are our organizations, a Lockheed Martin, an Airbus, saying that is important to the profession? How about the academic council? As we look to the next level of student, professional, what are those educational organizations saying is important? MIT, USC, etc. Here it is in a more classic chart. The board of directors supported by that corporate advisory board and council. Those are industry practitioners. We do have government bodies on that group from around the world and academia. The sector directors that I mentioned that govern over the sectors, they are the voice to and from chapters, and there's a support services set up here. Tech Ops, which coordinates working groups, and a certification program office, which is actually one of our fundamental initiatives that is set up to have our associate, certified, and expert systems engineering professionals. The board of directors, just so you understand how that's structured, there is an elected component of the executive committee. These are technically INCOSE's officers. We have an appointed person. Again, if we are a technical body, the technical voice of INCOSE is critical. So that's the technical director. We have a number of at-large elected directors that focus on functional areas: communications, growth, outreach, strategy, academic matters, and IT. Okay? We have the corporate advisory board chair, which is the singular voice of the corporate customer. And then we have the sector directors, who are the voice of the members, but most specifically the chapter leadership as to where INCOSE should go. Now, we can be segmented by this type of segmentation, but the reality is when we lead INCOSE, first and foremost, we are all directors of INCOSE, and we look at cohesively what's most important for the organization. We then speak with the particular voice we're given to make sure that communications is reflected, strategy is reflected, chapters are reflected. But we are, first and foremost, directors that govern the organization. Okay? Most importantly to this group, sector directors are the voice of chapters first and members second. Now, why is it in that order? Because every director actually needs to speak for the members. Okay? That is who we are representing. But sector directors are specifically elected by and empowered to represent chapter presidents. You can see geographically, it's the Americas, it's EMEA, which does include Russia, and it's Asia Pacific. Okay? The sector directors aren't there to task the chapters, they're there to serve the chapters. That's a communication role both ways, that's a support role, that's a direction role, and you can see here what their focus is. They promote INCOSE across the region, across the sector. They serve as a conduit and a connector within the organization. Chapters to Tech Ops, technical direction, chapters to the Industrial Outreach Board, chapters to the Corporate Advisory Board for support and alignment. They oversee the Chapter and Member Shared Service Committee, a body that works together to develop shared best practices and tools that help us all lead our chapters, our local groups. And then any activity that supports all members truly falls to within the sector director's responsibility. Okay? The CAB is the voice of the corporate customer. Okay? They are a key input into what our priority set is. They also advise technical working groups directly to say what the technical challenges are that we're facing. Is lean important? Is agile important? Is soft systems, soft skills important? Okay? They provide priority needs list so we can determine we have limited resources. We have to align those with what our volunteer energy is. That comes from the CAB as an input. They are a conduit back to their organizations. It's not just they pay to sit in the room and tell us what to do. They pay to sit in the room and then connect us with their organization on a continuing basis and hopefully help engage that organization in INCOSE and champion systems engineering in the process. And they are an excellent resource to us. And I believe this is the final touch point for me. The central office, it is small, it is lean, but it is focused on the needs of the members. And in fact, I think one of the places they truly excel is in member support services and that personal touch. So if you ever have a need, info@incose.org is a wonderful place to outreach. If that's a chapter member list, if it's a problem with a member, if it's a question about INCOSE, these are the paid professionals who help keep us volunteers on the right track. And Barclay, I'm actually going to turn it back over to you for the resources. Pardon me? No, certification is down in the main body of his work. So, yeah, because it's all jumbled up. These are all references to the current website, yes. Current website, which is still old for a little bit, so yes.